gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's January the 19th, 2023. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined once again by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, and Pop Idol, as we discuss the news of the day, presented by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. Matt Shodell, I am still reeling from the YouTube comments of yesterday. Oh my God, they are all across the board, but with a common theme. The Matt Shodell fan club is absolutely, totally out of control. But they love you, man, and that's all that matters. They love you, and you can feel the love. But anyway, I thought today we would start with a story that we have on the website. With Jake Garcia going into the transfer portal, there's a big question right now for the Miami Hurricanes at quarterback as they head towards spring practice. Does Miami have enough in the quarterback room, enough quality and enough depth? And so, Matt, that was one of our theme stories we took a shot at today. So, let's begin there. I'll start with my opinion, which is I'm a little concerned about the quarterback room. And I think that there's a lot that is going to be put on true freshman Emory Williams, a lot that's going to be put on second-year quarterback Ja'Cory Brown as the backups behind Tyler Van Dyke. And if it got to those guys again this year, I'm not convinced Miami's okay. I'm not sure this is okay. I didn't see anything last year that would lead me to think that it's okay in terms of Ja'Cory. And Emory's a true freshman, Matt, who is going to be learning on the fly here in spring practice. He's going to have 15 days to learn an entirely new college football offense. His head is going to be spinning. So I am concerned about the quarterback room going into spring and subsequently what will likely be going into next season. I don't think there's enough there. I don't think there's enough depth there. I don't think there's enough quality there. Your thoughts?
Well, I went through some of the numbers because that's what I do. And every single year since, I don't know, what was it, 2000? I don't have it in front of me, but since 2016, there it is. Every year since 2016, they've had four scholarship quarterbacks on the roster. And in 2015, they had 3. So look, you can have 3. The question is, do you think the 3 are good enough? Because let's face it, if they felt, if Peyton Matocha, for instance, was still on the roster, they'd have 4. So technically, that's 4, and you'd say, oh, they have enough depth. They have 4 scholarships.
It wouldn't matter. Would you feel any better? I don't know yet how you feel, but I wouldn't feel any better if Peyton Matocha was the 4th scholarship quarterback. I wouldn't feel any better about the whole position group.
What I was trying to say before I was so rudely interrupted by somebody, I don't know who it was. There was some voice.
I just had to throw that in because you're commenting on what I already said.
No, I wasn't.
Sorry if I offended anybody out there, but
I was trying to get to the point that when you say it's a lack of depth, it's not a numbers thing, it's a quality thing. So when you're saying 3 is not enough, what you're really saying is these guys aren't good enough. Because if you have 3 quarterbacks who are all really good, you're not worried. You're not going to have 3 quarterbacks get injured. That never happens. So what Gary's basically saying is the quarterbacks suck. Gary's a negative Nancy. No. I am not a negative Nancy. I am not. I don't want to.
No, I'm not saying they suck.
Stop being so negative. Stop being so negative. I just heard you say this. All I heard you say was the word suck. There was like a little blip before that.
Okay. Emory has not had one practice yet. Okay. I'm not saying he sucks. I like Emory Williams as a prospect. I'm saying he is not ready to go into the Texas A&M game in September and win the game. Ja'Cory, we do not know what he is going to look like yet this year. We don't know if it's going to be good. We don't know if it's going to be bad. But no, I don't feel comfortable that he could go in there and win the Texas A&M game in September. So we have one quarterback that I feel can go win the Texas A&M game. That I don't, maybe that changes over the course of the spring, but going into spring, I am very concerned about that because I don't want to see, oh, geez, Tyler got hurt. Oh, well, we're only going to win 4 or 5 games again this year.
So in 2015, their 3 quarterbacks that they had were Brad Kaya, Malik Rozier, and Evan Sheriffs. So really they had 2 because, as you all know, Evan was not a quarterback really. And then there was a year that I put in the story, I think, where they had the 4, and I have to find it, but the 4 were none of them were, it was Jaron Williams, N'Kosi Perry, and I think a couple other guys in that year. The point is, to me, and I did write the story. So do the Hurricanes have enough quarterback depth? To me, they could have 8 quarterbacks. And if only one of them is any quality, then I would say no, they don't have enough depth. So in this case, I think Tyler Van Dyke is really, really good. Did he have hiccups last year? Yes. You blame that some on the offensive line. You blame that some on the offensive system. I think Tyler Van Dyke's an outstanding quarterback. So I'm not worried about Tyler Van Dyke if he stays healthy. And if Miami coaches feel that he will stay healthy behind a much better offensive line, then great. But, that's to be determined, And if he does go down at some point due to injury, well, we saw Jakari could not throw the ball last year. That's concerning. You can't be one-dimensional and beat good teams. And Emory Williams, as Gary likes to think that this guy's going to be amazing out of the gate. And it does happen at times that true freshmen, Sam Howell, whatever, you can go down the list. But for every true freshman, this is the problem I have with Gary sometimes. He'll pick, a guy, May at North Carolina, whatever. He'll pick a specific example where it worked out great. But it's like picking a winning stock. You say, hey, look at this great stock I got. It went up 50%. Well, your 10 other stocks went down 40%. So you lost $1 million. Like, it doesn't always work out. Of course, you could pick out the unicorn in any scenario. I mean, I could pick a 9th-year senior tight end who's still playing college football because there is one. He's a unicorn. Is he going to be any good? I don't know. But you could find different scenarios. You can't find a 9th-year senior, but you can find almost any other scenario of this guy transferred. They took 15 transfers and won 10 games. It happens, but they're unicorns. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. I'm just saying that phrase because I don't know what it means, but it sounds really good at this point. So it doesn't happen in a vacuum. And listen, bottom line is there's not enough depth at quarterback, but how do you solve it? I don't want them to bring in a transfer that, period. I want a free agent, I'll take. Transfer, no. I don't want to, like Gary mentioned yesterday, a 3rd-team guy from Ohio State who's unproven. Like, that doesn't do a lot for me this year, Gary's like, oh, but he can compete to start a year from now. Well, you know what? A year from now, then bring in a guy who can compete, If you're looking to fix depth, you don't fix depth with some other guy that you have no idea if he's going to be any good, but was a 4-star recruit. Because guess what? Jake Garcia was a 4-star recruit, So to me, there's not enough depth. I don't know how you fix it at this point, unless somebody comes out of the woodwork as a February signee, unless Jaden Rashada's father calls Mr. Ruiz and apologizes for how his son treated Mr. Ruiz, backing out of the contract the second it expired and going to the enemy. Other than that, I don't know what you do right now, quarterback, besides stick with what you got. Because what I don't want is for Mario to panic like he did at defensive tackle last year, to some extent like he already is at defensive tackle this year. I want them to get quality players, not guys from Georgia State, from a guy who had 26 tackles and a couple of sacks from some other school and graded out at 68%. Like, those aren't championship players to me. I'm sorry. I want championship players in this team. Call me crazy. That's what I want.
All right. So we are in agreement that the position is not okay as it exists. I think. I think we are in agreement on that. Maybe we disagree a little bit on what they can do about it here before the start of the 2023 football season. But I'm okay with going through spring practice, getting a read. Like I said yesterday, where's Jakari? Where's Emory? And then reassess the whole picture when you get to mid-April and you've played the spring game. You've had a couple scrimmages during spring practice. And I think Mario and whoever is coaching offense this year, we don't know, will have a much better idea of what they've got in the quarterback room, and then they can act accordingly, and we will discuss it more as it unfolds. All right. Other stuff on the website today, a couple things, Matt, that I thought we should talk about that evolved after we recorded this show yesterday morning, but very topical. One of them is Hurricanes GM Alonzo Highsmith spoke relatively extensively in an in-house interview just about the talent level in the program, what he's doing in his job, looking at scouting and personnel, and how they are obsessed in the building with making the roster better. And, I know you hate it that includes transfers or free agents, I guess you like, or whatever. I don't know. You change your tune a lot on that stuff, but transfers are a part of what they are doing. And, Highsmith said a lot of really good things, but the bottom line of this interview, the recurring theme, I would say, is that everything at the U right now boils down to player acquisition. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are you did not fully read the story, because literally his quote was one of his quotes that this is quote, okay, quote, building a nucleus of young players, young talent, bringing in an influx of young talent at all times. That's the key. That's what he said the key is to becoming a Georgia. He didn't say go in the transfer portal and take 9 guys this year and take 11 guys last year. Somehow that wasn't mentioned. I didn't leave it out of the story, Gary. He didn't mention transfer portal once. He didn't once say you have to forget the young guys. You also got to bring in old guys from other schools that are backups there who could now star at Miami. Somehow he forgot to mention that. He didn't say.
I can tell you that Alonzo is spending an enormous amount of time reviewing guys in the transfer portal.
Because that's his job.
Correct.
But you know what? My job is to write stories. And when you call me to write a Cormani McLean story, I don't want to write it, but I wrote it. He may not think it's a great idea to bring 9 transfers on this year and 11 last year, but he's not going to say it publicly. They tell him, evaluate these transfers. That's his job. Evaluate them. Tell Mario how bad they are. And then Mario says, we're taking them anyway. And Alonzo says, okay, boss. Like, that's pretty much how I imagine it happens. I'm pretty sure that's how it happens, actually.
All right. Well, it doesn't matter. Let's say it doesn't matter where they come from. The bottom line is Alonzo, and no surprise here.
It doesn't matter where they come from. Yesterday, you're harping they have to get Ohio State and Alabama third-team quarterbacks. Now it doesn't matter where they come from. That's great.
Because I think there's some very good quarterbacks that are buried in those elite programs.
But now it doesn't matter where they come from. So let's.
And I think they recruit
an
elite quarterback every single year, and most of them end up having to go elsewhere because they all can't play for those 2 or 3 teams. And I think that's a good place to look for transfer candidates. But
you know what? You're like when you land a stone crab pot. Okay, usually they're face down and you can grab them very easily. But you're like the stone crab right now who's face up like this, and it's a pain in the butt to grab them. It's a pain in the butt right now to even talk to you because, I don't even understand what you want to do anymore. I don't. You want backups from this school, not from that school, but then you take them from wherever. You need to have backups in practice, but no, you need really good players. I don't understand anymore. You're the stone crab facing up. That's a pain in the butt to deal with, man.
No, this is me. Okay, this is me. I am the stone crab in pain, okay, outside your house after listening to you on this show every single day. I sit there, I writhe from the frustration of it all. I feel pain and I need my claws so I could claw back at Matt Shodell, who always has to line up on the opposite side of what I'm saying. But that's okay. It's okay. It makes your fan club happy. It makes the show somewhat compelling, and I think it's okay. But in this case, the point I was trying to make, which is really an affirmation as much as anything, is that Alonzo is totally sold that the evaluation of all these kids that he is looking at every day are extremely important to the program. And he feels like this is why he is back at Miami. And he feels that his time now in the program is very useful. And I think that's an important thing because I do think that Alonzo brings a lot to the table for the program.
There's no doubt about it. They need that NFL perspective big time. And he made it clear, look, this was not any shocking revelations in the interview that we put up yesterday. It was what you expected to see, but it's just nice to have someone say it. It's nice to have somebody say,
you want to hear it over and over.
Yeah, it's nice to see
unless
somebody
you're speaking.
I know NFL talent, and that's what we're bringing on board. It's just nice to hear that,
It gives you a comfort level that everything's okay. It's going to be okay. Yeah, this season sucked, but it's going to be okay. They're bringing a lot of new players in. They're being properly vetted. Are they all going to be perfect? No. There are going to be some misses in there. We've been talking a lot about hits and misses lately. There will be some misses in these last 2 recruiting classes, but at least you feel like things are headed in the right direction. The percentage of hits should go up exponentially. And like Matt just said, it's nice to hear it and feel good about what's going on. All right, Matt, you also mentioned the Cormani McClain, and
you forced me to write that story yesterday. I had no
idea,
interest.
but you know what? And some people were mad about it, but
they
some people
be.
saying, I don't want to read any more about Cormani McClain.
I literally texted you after I reached out to my source. I literally texted you. I said, I don't think we should write this. I don't think people want to hear about this anymore.
I know, but then I'm looking at the live analytics, and a lot of people are reading the stories because they are interested in what is going on with Cormani McClain. So if you're not interested, and we write about Cormani McClain, and I don't expect us to be writing about him too much more, to be honest with you, but if we are writing about him and you're not interested, just don't read the story, because there are a lot of people that are interested. And this was actually a pretty funny, compelling story. I mean, it was almost like an afterthought, but let's check up on what's going on with Cormani. And then we find out that he's got a film crew following him around up there at Lakeland, which is just, beyond. What else, Matt? That he's keeping everybody in the dark about what's happening. The coaches at Lakeland have no clue. The Miami coaches had no clue when they showed up last Friday to visit him, and he was on his way to Colorado. Nobody has a clue. Nobody knows anything about what Cormani's doing. They just see this film crew following him around. And I don't know, man. I'm like really surprised that Mario wants any part of this. I really am. I think he just has an enormous amount of pride when it comes to recruiting, and he doesn't want to lose on anybody. And this is a very highly rated kid, let's be honest. And so he clearly has potential to be a decent college football player. But is he a finished product? Absolutely not. Is he going to need a lot of coaching and work? He absolutely will. I don't see him as a slam dunk personally. But Mario does not like to lose recruiting battles, and he's going to stay in there and fight it out. But film crews, last-minute trips to where his coaches are showing up at the high school and Cormani's not there, man, his patience has got to be wearing thin, Matt.
All right, so I haven't done a DNR in a while, right? So may as well resuscitate that, since DNR and resuscitation go hand in hand. For those of you that haven't seen my DNR, I don't think I've done one in probably a month or two, right? It's
in a little bit.
It stands for Daily Negative Rant, which has pretty much become a YNR. I haven't done it probably since last year or so. It's whatever. You guys can figure out what the Y stands for. Anyway, here's the thing, okay? This is not a one-off. This is the new normal. I talked to an area coach, and we're going to write a story about this. I didn't write it at the time. But we are going to write it at some point in the next few days. I talked to a coach down in this area who sent at least one player to Miami. I don't want to identify who he is because I told him it would be anonymous. But I talked to him after signing day, the day after signing day, just to recap and get some more quotes about his player, okay? One of his players. And he told me on signing day, there were people coming out of the woodwork representing different schools offering $300,000 for his player to sign with them. $500,000, he said, for his player to sign with them. And these are schools his player didn't even visit. So basically what these schools are trying to do.
Offering the player or the coach?
Well, they're calling the coach.
But they're offering the money.
As the middleman. They're saying, we will give your player this much money. And the idea of this isn't that he's going to flip on signing day. The idea of this is to screw with another program, to get that player to not sign in the early signing period, put it off, screw with that program, whether he winds up still at that program or not, to be determined. But there's no downside. If Miami wants to mess up FSU's recruiting or Florida's recruiting, what better way than to call their top 10 recruit school, which Miami doesn't do, but this will be done at some point, and tell the middleman, tell the coach, whoever the middleman is, hey, we got $1 million waiting if he just puts off signing. We're putting the package together. Don't sign early. You can mess up And look what happened with Cormani, right? Cormani cast a shadow, no matter what people want to say about how great this recruiting class is, it cast a shadow over what should have been a celebration for Mario Cristobal and this Miami Hurricanes program. It wasn't right what he did to this program. If Cormani McClain didn't want to sign early, he should have decommitted when he knew he wasn't going to be signing. At least say, I'm not going to sign. Who does this? It wasn't a signing day decision for Cormani to do this. He didn't tell anybody. Look what happened when Miami coaches sent their entire the Miami coach, Mario Cristobal, sent his entire defensive staff to Cormani's school last Friday. Cormani was on his way to Colorado. He didn't tell Miami coaches that. He didn't tell his own coaches that, because God forbid one of his coaches actually tells Miami, hey, don't waste your time. He's not going to be here. It's ridiculous how he's running this. But again, this isn't going to be Cormani. This is going to be a lot of different recruits following this pattern, and maybe even filming their own documentaries, because there are people out there who will pay money for this kind of amazing entertainment, because isn't this so much fun, Gary? I mean, Cormani literally drove his own head coach into retirement. I'm not even joking. His head coach, who coached for decades, he said, I'm done. And he just retired like a week ago. He just said, that's it. And I can't tell you it had anything to do with Cormani. I did reach out to that head coach and told him congratulations on retiring. I said, I keep trying to retire. My boss won't let me. My boss, of course, is my wife, not Gary. And so anyway, so look, in my mind, Cormani's why he retired. I don't care what people say. But we did, I did reach out to a source who I've been talking to, for a while, up in that area, and we wrote the story yesterday because Gary forced me to, and apparently my wife says I have to have a job. So unlike the Lakeland coach, I still have to work. Was that even a DNR? I don't know if that was a DNR or not, but I feel very negative about the whole situation, and I feel like it's going to keep happening. Weird stuff like this is going to keep happening year after year and get even more prevalent. That's my point.
Yeah, and I do too. And when he shined Azubi a few months back, and after Azubi drove 4 hours to go up to Lakeland to see him, and he's standing there face to face with Azubi, telling Azubi, I am not talking to you. I am not allowed to talk to you. Well, I had enough right there.
Well, yeah, but to be clear, we never, just to be fair and transparent, it's not like we called Cormani or texted Cormani, hey, we're going to come up there. Is that cool? Will you talk to us? No, because Cormani doesn't respond. Okay.
He doesn't respond, but we did clear it with his coach.
Which is what I was going to say. So we reached out to the coach. Hey, if we come up, can we grab Cormani? Yeah, of course. Come on up. Practice ends at this time. Come on over.
Right. So
these coaches up at the school, I mean, look, I played sports in high school. Gary, I think you were a water boy, right, in high school? And so we both know that when it comes to interviews in sports and things like that, if your head coach comes up to you and says, hey, there's a reporter here from so-and-so that wants to talk to you, you don't say, I'm not talking to him, coach. Like, that's weird.
Sure.
I'm not talking to him. I refuse to talk to him.
I'd love to.
I refuse to talk to the media. I mean, who does that? And if you're going to do that, tell your coach in advance. Tell him a month earlier, just so you know, coach, I'm just got so much stuff going on. I'm not going to be doing any interviews. If I know that you get a lot of calls from media, because they do, to set up interviews. I mean, it's gotten to the point where IMG has its own media relations staff that I think is bigger than the University of Miami's media relations staff. Like, they have more employees in the media relations department at IMG than the University of Miami does. I mean, it's insane. Like, I've got like 3 or 4 different people's numbers over at IMG for who to contact to do interviews.
They get people for you.
Yes, they get people. Yeah, exactly. And St. Thomas Aquinas is doing the same thing. I called. This is back when we were trying to get a hold of that safety, Conrad Hussey. So I called Twan Russell, who, as old as I am, I covered Twan in college. That's scary. When Twan was in college, not when I was in college. And so Twan and I go back a long way. He and I know each other really well. And I said to Twan, I said, I wanted to get a hold of Conrad Hussey. And, I called Conrad's number. Can I double check the number's correct or whatever? And I double checked the number was correct. But Twan said, listen, just go through media relations. And by the way, Conrad Hussey, this is not the first time this has happened to me. But the very first time I called him, I call, he answers. And I say, oh, hey, it's Matt Shodell with CaneSport and Rivals.com. And all of a sudden, he has a different voice. He goes, this isn't Conrad Hussey. I think you have the wrong number. Click. That's not the first time that's happened, by the way. It's weird to me also that recruits just don't say, I'm not doing interviews, or say, whatever it is. Like, it's not like we're forcing them to do interviews. The first question I ever ask somebody is, do you have a couple minutes to talk? Would you like to do an interview? Like, that sort of thing. For instance, even Josh Jobe way back when people thought that he was a little nuts with his recruitment, like, he would just text me like, hey, check in a month. I might do an interview in a month from now, right? Put in my calendar a month today, the exact time. Hey, Josh, it was exactly a month ago, that you told me maybe you'll do an interview. And he actually was receptive, because, student athletes respect when a media respects them, respect their privacy. But you can't respect somebody's privacy if they don't tell you what they want you to do and how they want you to behave. So tell your coach, if a recruit's actually watching this, tell your coach if you're doing interviews or not doing interviews. If a reporter reaches out to you and is annoying, tell them you're not doing interviews with them ever. But if they're not that annoying, tell them when you might do an interview again, and they'll check in with you at that point,
Well, I mean, look, we've all had enough of Cormani. We don't like this at all. We don't like the disrespect. We don't like the, all the things that have been going on in his recruitment. But we have an obligation to cover it, because there are some of you out there that are interested in it, and so we will cover this till the end. Thankfully, we've got about 2 weeks of it left, and it will reach a conclusion. And so we'll continue to cover it and see what happens then. All right, we got a few more things to talk about today. First, let's hear from our friends at Life Wallet.
Hi, I'm Nigel Pack, and when I decided to come to Miami, I knew I had to pack, including my Life Wallet. But you know what else I'm going to pack this upcoming season? I'm going to pack the house. But today, I'm going to stand here and make another trade.
The feed to Pack. He throws another. Give it to him. His third from the corner pocket. When he was persistent, Nigel Pack again.
Never leave your home without your Life Wallet. Saving time, saving lives.
Poor Nigel, man. This ACC thing has not been as easy as he probably thought it was going to be, Matt. There have been games where he struggled a little bit being a point guard, but Syracuse was exactly what he needed, man. They were playing that zone defense. He was sitting out there he was almost a half court on a few of them, just throwing in those deep threes. I think he had 5 or 6 of them against Syracuse. So it was nice to see Nigel finally get to do his thing and shoot those threes at a high percentage, and was probably the biggest reason why they were able to beat Syracuse when you boil it down, his ability to hit those shots from the outside. And by the way, the men's basketball team's headed up to Duke. That'll be interesting. We should have more on that later today. We'll be talking to Jim Larinaga. But a ton of recruiting stuff. I mean, I can't. Well, first, let me say that we do have the continuation today of our 30 for 30 series, ranking the top 30 Hurricanes with 30 or more reps of experience. Today, we talk about number 15 defensive end Jafari Harvey, and man, Matt, he's number 15. Okay, and I mean, he had an okay season. I don't think Jafari Harvey was like off the charts last year. He was okay, he's serviceable as a rotation defensive end, but you're seeing how thin the talent is still on this roster, that a rotation defensive end with very modest production is the number 15 player, essentially, on the team going into spring practice. So that's kind of interesting. You guys can check out our evaluation of Jafari Harvey today on the website. All right, a ton of recruiting stuff on the site today. We're building up towards what's going to be a massive weekend. Dozens on top of dozens on top of dozens of kids. Probably may even get into the hundreds. We're still putting the accurate list together. We didn't want to rush it out. It's still evolving. There's a lot of kids coming in for battle that Miami. We have to figure out, is Miami really interested in them? I mean, we're not going to write about every single kid coming to South Florida this weekend, because there's hundreds of them, and they're not all going to be Miami recruits. So we're still working through that. We will have continued reports on that as the week goes on, but we do have some stories on the website today that I think you guys will find interesting. let's see. We report on tight ends coach Stephen Field, who went up to Georgia to see a couple of top Miami targets that are already Georgia commits. And that's not a waste of time, because if you have multiple Georgia commits this early in recruiting, there might be more Georgia commits, and everybody's not going to Georgia. So I think it's a good thing that Miami's not being bothered by kids being committed elsewhere this early in the game, and they're sending the coaches to check up on these guys. And we got a story on a couple of the tight ends. We also catch up with a couple 2024 players that added new Miami offers, and they share where things stand now with us. 4-star quarterback Austin Simmons and Orlando Evans safety Brandon Jacob. And we are slowly whittling away at these kids. Dozens of offers have gone out this week to 2024 and 2025 kids. We're chipping away at them. We will continue to be bringing you these reports in the coming days and weeks. Let's see. We also talked to a 2025 wide receiver from Palm Beach Cardinal Newman by the name of Nashawn Montgomery. So make sure that you check that story out as well. So that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. A little short and sweet. Hope you Matt Shodell fans got your fix of Shodell.
You obviously don't read.
I tried to let him talk for at least 20 of the 30 minutes. I apologize that I interrupted him a few times early, but it was important to put what we were talking about in context.
I mean, what comments don't you understand? Let me read you a couple of the comments. Okay, I'll call it up right here. Let's see. Here's my favorite. My favorite one is
he doesn't want to end he doesn't want to let the show end. Now he wants to turn the show into what his fan club is saying in the comments. Go ahead, Matt. What's your fan club saying?
Don't misrepresent how much I'm hated. I'm trying to find the one where I don't know, it's called a dweeb, which I haven't heard the term dweeb since I was probably in 3rd grade. So I'm guessing it was one of my former.
You a dweeb.
I'm guessing it was one of my former classmates. You didn't see the dweeb one?
No.
Oh, I got to find that then. That was a good one.
I see that dude, Rod, saying Matt's on point again, and I want some of his stone crabs.
No. I actually responded to it. If I can find
Matt's a dweeb. I see that now.
And read my response. Yeah, read my response.
You can't stand your whiny voice.
And what did I say? What did I respond?
To get off the show so you can sleep in.
That's why I'm doing it. I'm doing it on purpose. I'm whining so I can get off this show and people will let me sleep in. I'm sick of being on this show every day.
Well, Isaiah Robinson.
It's the truth. You guys know I keep it real. It's the truth. I'm trying to get off this show. I have been so poorly behaved for the last 2 years on this show. Everything I do, I try to do the worst possible way to do it. I'm negative. Everything's horrible. No matter what I do, people want me to stay on this. At least it seems like some people want me to stay on this show. I don't understand why. Like, what do I have to do? Tell me, people, on the comments, what do I have to do to get off this show? That's all I've been trying to do for 2 years.
Well, I can get you off for today because I'm hungry and I want to go eat some breakfast. Okay.
Right,
so if you just stop talking, I will get us to the end here.
All right.
All right. You good?
Yes.
All right. We thank you so much for starting out your day with us this morning. And if you like this show, if you like Matt, hit your subscribe button, hit your like button. It helps us with the algorithms at YouTube, helps us grow the audience so that we have one big happy family together each and every morning. If you are not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, please become one. Your subscriptions allow us to do this show. We got to pay the bills, pay Matt to get up this early in the morning. And it allows us to do everything that we can do every single day to make your fan experience as good as it can be. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We thank you so much for joining us once again this morning, and we'll see you tomorrow, everybody.